Tonight on the Pioneer Sideline, we return to the school year in style. We break down men's and women's soccer teams to see if we can return to KIAC glory and move into the NAIA national picture. The volleyball team looks to get back to the top of the KIAC mountain as well, with several new faces leading the way. We also will catch up with one of the fastest growing sports clubs on campus. And as we always, finish up with the case of the week. And that and more, as well as we head down to the Pioneer Sideline. To the Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Kyle Anthony. The men's soccer team has been a force to be reckoned with in the KIAC the past few years. Now let's kick it over to Zach Aaron with how the men's soccer team has started this year.
Well, Kyle, this past week, the men's soccer team began their 2014 season. The season began at home with a match against NCAA Division II Wheeling Jesuit. Point Park seemed to be in control for most of the match. However, one mistake by the Pioneers made a huge difference. In the 24th minute, midfielder Dominic Canello made a bad pass, and it was intercepted immediately by Wheeling Jesuit's Trey Tucker, who walked the goal into the net as goalkeeper Zach Borzavoy challenged the turnover well out of the net. Until that goal, the Pioneers had not allowed a goal in 5 consecutive exhibition matches during the spring and summer. That would be the only goal of the game, as Point Park lost by a score of 1-0. Point Park outshot Wheeling Jesuit 14-8, with 10 of the Pioneer shots being on net. The Pioneers certainly had their chances to score, but they were all taken away by Wheeling Jesuit goalkeeper Cody Thompson, who made spectacular saves on every shot he faced, and even saved the team from having a tie or even a loss. The Pioneers then had a day off. Then they went on the road to meet Mount Vernon Nazarene. Once again, the Pioneers had a tough test as the game was even for most of regulation. First, and the team's first goal of the year, unassisted off of a free kick. Zach Borzavoy continued his dominance, stopping all 6 shots he faced, and it led to a 1-0 shutout of Mount Vernon Nazarene. The Pioneers are currently playing against Waynesburg University. Then on Saturday, they will play the University of Northwestern Ohio, and next Tuesday, they will visit West Virginia Tech.
Zach, this men's team, they're trying a new philosophy this year. They're playing more of a defensive style. Do you think they'll be able to keep that for the whole season, or do you think we're going to see them go back to the more offensive style we've seen in the past where they play a lot of high-scoring games?
Well, you're totally right. Coach Yaron Walsh has totally changed up the system and focused a lot over the offseason on defense, and it's really shown. Like I said, up until that goal against Wheeling Jesuit, they hadn't allowed a goal in 5 consecutive matches. That's pretty impressive, especially for Point Park, who is usually trying to play the load up on offense and then let in a lot of goals, but still managed to win by 1. For example, a 6-5 win.
Now, Zach, this year the KIAC got some new people out of the conference, and one of the teams is Rio Grande, a team we played twice last year. The one time we got blown out, then we played them in an NAIA tournament, and we played a 2-1 game. Now, do you think they could help block the Pioneers from regaining the KIAC title?
It's going to be really interesting this year because now that they're in conference rivals, we are going to be seeing them a little bit more. There's a new fire added to the rivalry that was forming because of the NAIA tournament matches. But it's going to be really interesting because now, like we said, the defense is stacked up. So maybe now the defense can hold up better against the Rio Grande offense, who is very good.
Now, what can we expect in the road ahead for this Pioneers team?
What we can expect is a lot of the same that we've seen, a lot of low-scoring matches, but a lot of defense played. So I think the Pioneers are going to have a very good season, especially with additions of players such as Godinho and LeBrun, both international players. A lot of good ball handling, a lot of speed for the offense and defense to get back on both sides of the ball. So I'm expecting a really good year for the men's soccer team.
Thanks, Zach. The women's soccer team has had its best season since the hiring of Coach Maggie Kuhn. Blaine King now joins me to see if the team could maintain its high standards for the play out on the pitch.
Thanks, Kyle. It is early in the season for the Point Park women's soccer team, but they are off to a bit of a slow start. They currently have a record of 1-4, recently losing to Mount Vernon Nazarene 7-0, and their one and only win came against LaRoche last Wednesday by a score of 4-0. They have not had a KIAC opponent yet, which is a positive. Their first KIAC opponent will be home against Rio Grande on September 20th. But the women's soccer team is having troubles both offensively and defensively, as they have only scored a total of 6 goals in their first 5 games, and they have given up a total of 16 goals overall. Freshman Audra Lewis is leading the team with 3 goals. Hopefully the women start heating up as they get deeper into their season.
Thanks, Blaine. Now, Blaine, this team, they're playing a very bad offensive game. They're not scoring a lot of goals. And what do you think that's because?
It could be because of the young play, but last year we saw Point Park the women scoring about 3 goals a game, and they're just averaging around that. But truthfully, I think the problem is defensively, which is a big shocker to us.
Yeah, Blaine, you're right. We're used to this team being a defensive powerhouse. Now, offensively, they do have a lot of scorers back, like Lisa Tokarski, who was a big scorer for this team last year. Why do you think those players like that aren't producing? I mean, they got a lot of playing time last year and were able to come up clutch in games.
You know what, Kyle? I'm wondering the same thing. First of all, I think that once they start getting into the groove of things, getting deeper into the season, especially against KAC opponents, we'll see more scoring out of the leaders from last year. But as of right now, they're just relying on a freshman that's leading them in goals right now with only 3. So I truthfully don't know what to say about that.
Now, what do you expect to see from this team in the future? Because this team has been on top of the KAC the past couple seasons, and now they're struggling some to score, and their defense is struggling. Now, do you expect that to keep going on, and what do you expect right now out of this team?
Well, you know, I expect them to start tightening up on the defensive side of the ball because, as you said, they were a really great defensive team last year. I just think that it's just because it's the beginning of the season. They might have beginning of the season jitters a little bit. So once they start getting to the groove of things and start warming up, I expect them to start lowering those goal totals from 4 a game to about probably giving up 2 goals or even 1 or hopefully nothing a game.
Now, what can we expect in the road ahead for this team?
Well, what can be expected is a deep KIAC play. As I said, their first game is against Rio Grande on September 20th. I think they're going to, once they start getting to the groove of KIAC opponents, they'll start warming up, they'll start heating up, and they'll start being more competitive.
Thanks, Blaine. Coming up, the volleyball team started off the season not so hot. See if they could keep themselves back on the right foot, and we have a member of the roughest sport join us in studio.
We are a social people. We share our inspiration, wisdom, creations, and memories. We share what makes us laugh and what angers us. Built on the notion of a free flow of ideas, our country thrives on the freedom of speech. Without it, who would watch over our governing powers? And how would we share our history to make a difference for the future? It's this freedom to share that gives us a reason to listen.
Hi, you're tuned into Point Park University Television, and UView is for you. Stacy?
Yes, Dan. UView is for you.
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 UView is for you. UView is for you. UView is for you.
To me, freedom of speech means there are no barriers to voice opinions. Communication is key to a functioning society and relationships in those societies. I believe our forefathers gave us this right so if concerns or problems arise, we have the right to respectively use words, aids, and body language to give our message. Compromise may not always be met, but when it does meet, it opens up the world to new ideas, relationships, and makes the world become a happier place.
Welcome back to the Pioneer Sideline. Volleyball can be summed up as bump, set, and spike, but it hasn't been that easy of a start of the season for the Pioneers. Kelsey Mesker is here to see if they could serve themselves back into their winning ways.
Thanks, Kyle. It may have been a slow start to the season, but the Pioneers have evened everything up with a current 6-6 overall record and a 3-0 in the KIAC. After 2 early wins against Weber and Montreat, the Pioneers lost 6 consecutive matches. That team then rallied to get back on track. The Pioneers have since beaten Lawrence Tech and KIAC rivals Carlo, IU Southeast, and Cincinnati Christian. After the team's win against Carlo, which ended the losing streak, Pioneers head coach Mike Bruno commented, "We just needed a match where we could recollect our confidence, play within ourselves, and stop the landslide." There may have been a skid in the road, but the Pioneers have proved they can refocus and dominate in the KIAC as they sit at the #1 spot in the conference overall. Simonson has picked up the team's offense with 90 total kills on the season, and Dalliard has contributed in multiple ways. The Pioneers have several newcomers and only 3 senior leaders on the team. It will prove to be an interesting season as they have 3 away matches and more KIAC action coming up against Alice Lloyd and Midway before returning home to play more Pioneer action.
Well, Kelsey, I mean, this team, they start off the season good. They had a rough middle patch, but lately they've been playing much better. What do you think that the cause of that is?
You know, Kyle, I think sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for a team to become more unified, for them to get it together, and maybe that's just what they needed. Like I said, they only had 3 senior leaders on this team, so bringing in some new people, fresh faces, I think, you know, they've picked it up as KIAC action has started, and they're focused and ready to go.
Now, Kelsey, what can we expect for the season to come?
I expected Kyle to be a tough season, like I said, without the ton of senior leadership. There are 5 juniors on the team, so I think that they'll help pick up the pace a little bit. But I think there are going to be ups and downs for this team, and we'll just have to see, take it match by match and see how they can go.
Thanks, Kelsey. Making his first appearance on the Pioneer Sideline is Tyler Jeske. And Tyler, this past weekend saw a lot of the winning waves from the Pittsburgh area. Didn't it, Tyler?
Yeah, Kyle, it was a pretty good weekend for Pittsburgh sports with the Pirates, Panthers, and Steelers each winning. On Sunday, the Pirates beat the Cubs 10-4 behind 4 home runs from Neil Walker, Jordy Mercer, Andrew McCutcheon, and pitcher Garrett Cole, who pitched 6 innings, allowing 3 earned runs and striking out 8. The Pirates' offensive explosion puts the Pirates back into the second wild card spot, a half game ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers and the Atlanta Braves. But they're still 4.5 games behind the Cardinals in the NL Central. The Panthers traveled to Boston College on Friday for their ACC season opener. Behind James Conner's 218 yards rushing, the Panthers beat BC 30-20. Conner accounted for half of Pitt's total offense, following up his 4-touchdown performance against Delaware a week before. Tyler Boyd led all Pitt receivers with 5 catches for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. Next week, Pitt travels to Florida to play against Florida International. And it's been 9 months since we've seen the black and gold play some meaningful football, and Sunday the Steelers squeaked one out against the Cleveland Browns with a final score of 30-27. It was a tale of 2 halves for the Steelers. They went into the half leading 27-3, then blew it in the 3rd and 4th quarters, allowing the Browns to score 24 unanswered points. It took a last-second 41-yard field goal by Sean Sweezum to beat the Browns. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger threw the ball for 365 yards and 1 touchdown, completing 5 passes to Antonio Brown for 116 yards and 6 passes to second-year wideout Marcus Wheaton, who had 97 yards, including 2 crucial game-winning catches on the game-winning drive. Le'Veon Bell paved the way on the ground for the Steelers with 21 carries for 109 yards and a 38-yard touchdown run. Bell also contributed in the passing game with 6 receptions for 88 yards. The Steelers outgained the Browns 490 yards to 389 yards. The Steelers have a quick turnaround this week as they play the hated Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night in Baltimore. They may also be without rookie running back Dree Archer, who left the game with left knee and ankle injuries. And of course, you can't forget about the highlight of the weekend, Antonio Brown and his kick to the face of Browns punter Spencer Lanning while seemingly trying to hurdle over the punter.
national news, we start with Ray Rice, who was released by the Baltimore Ravens and suspended by the NFL indefinitely after a video released from inside an elevator showing him striking his fiancée. Originally, Rice was only suspended 2 games and would be allowed to rejoin team activities on Friday. Good news in State College, the Penn State football team will now be eligible for the postseason this year and will be returned all the scholarships next year after the NCAA reduced penalties coming from the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse scandal. The school must still pay $60 million in fines and give up 112 wins from Joe Paterno. This week, the NBA was struck with another incident of racism. This time it involves Atlanta Hawks owner Bruce Levinson. Levinson is putting his control interest of the team up for sale. The incident involves an email that was sent almost 2 years ago in which he uses racial language about the team and its fans. Coming up, Chris Hoffman will be joined by one of the toughest athletes on campus. Stay tuned to find out who that is after the break.
Freedom of speech is my right as an American to voice my opinion, or, if I choose to stay silent. I have the right to practice my religion. I have the right to publish my own works. With this right, we can be creative, innovative, and change the world. For more information, visit www.freedomofspeechpsa.org.
Do you know all the things you can do with your student ID? Along with getting discounts to some of the restaurants around campus. Showing your Point Park ID can net you deals on tickets at theaters in the Cultural District. To check out all the current options, just search Student Discounts on the Point Park University homepage.
An expression, a belief, a symbol, freedom to worship, an unspoken word. To express yourself means standing up for what you believe in. There's a freedom to worship and freedom to live. To speak never saying a word, to love, to let your voice be heard. The light of your own path. For more information, visit www.freedomofspeechpsa.org.
I told you this was coming, and we're finally ready to introduce you to our interviewee. Chris Hoffman now jumps into the scrum with rugby player Jake Como.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm now joined in studio by rugby player Jake Como. Jake, it's your 3rd year with this program. You've really seen the development of it. Can you just testify to kind of what's been going on with that team the last few years?
I think just purely numbers has risen since my freshman year, of course. Organization as a whole, too. Club-wise, we've been getting and cracking down on people and getting to meetings, getting to practices. So the commitment and level of excellence we've been trying to uphold has been definitely raising every year.
Now, you've been mentioning the numbers. That's something that's really hard for you guys because you guys don't give out scholarships. You're not really a team. I mean, you're a team by all means, but it's club level. How do you find ways to get people to commit to the time in addition to all their classwork?
Well, that's the difficulty of it, especially we play in a conference where rugby is a varsity sport for some of the teams, so they do get the scholarships and they do get recruited and things like that. So without those resources, we really have to hold up a good level of a brotherhood aspect of it, and everybody is this really tight-knit family group, and that's really what drives people to want to be a part of it. I know that's what got me into it and keeps me in it. So.
You mentioned the brotherhood got you in it, but how else did you find this sport when you first came in as a freshman?
Actually, a friend of mine, Neil Skibicki, used to play on the team, and he was from my high school, and he told me he had a blast with it, and I was going to play college football, but I decided against it. So when I was in college, I wanted to keep fit, and I saw rugby as a sport that was kind of like football. I now know it's nothing like football, but I still enjoy it very much.
Now, you guys are now in a conference, the Three Rivers Conference. You guys went against Grove City this past week. Can you just talk about how does it feel to get back on the field, get those first play jitters out?
Oh, it was great, especially with a lot of the guys' injuries last year, things like that. We haven't had a chance to play together in such a very long time. So getting the first kicks, the first hits out of the way was really nice. Grove City's a quality opponent. They won our conference a couple years back, so opening up against them was a nice test for our team.
And the other thing I heard this year, you guys are starting to really develop more drills in practice, not just go out there and kind of bust bodies against each other. How did you guys figure out these drills, and really how do you think it's going to help that team improve to get to that next level this season?
I think Troy and Travis really have put a lot of work into it, as well as Richie Carver. But Troy actually, I think, subscribes to USA Rugby, and they send him training lessons and videos and things like that, so he can teach the players and teach everybody the fundamentals of the game, as well as ins and outs, so everybody can learn in an easy way. So a lot of the things come with videos too, and that's what we encourage a lot of the new players to do as well.
Now, the twins of Troy and Travis have been there all 4 years, really developed leadership. Can you talk about how big that leadership has been for them, being with the team as long as they have?
Oh, absolutely. They're the heart and soul of our team, being there 4 years and everything. Without a coach, they're really like the closest thing to a coach that I call, and living with them as well, they've really become real close to us.
And that was something you touched on earlier, is being close and a brotherhood. How do you guys find the way to become a brotherhood with all you guys coming from different backgrounds, different schools and different majors? How do you find a way to really just gel as a unit and become a team on and off the field?
Well, I think that it all leads down to the fact that we don't have a coach. We have to rely on each other out there. We have to be able to respect one another on a level that a lot of teams don't have respect for the other players. So in having the way everything is set up, I've just got so close to everybody in respect. It's more of a friendship level, so I can take criticism better, and so can everybody else. So that's really what keeps us so tight-knit.
And with you guys being in the conference, it's your second full year in the conference. Now that you've seen everyone before, what expectations can you take in as a team to really go and even really potentially go for the conference title win this year?
Yeah, we aim for playoffs. I mean, we always want to play extra rugby. It's a great feeling to be able to beat teams, obviously, but in a conference as prestigious as ours, there are some teams that are hard to beat, but we look to beat them. Franciscan has a very, very tough side. They always do. Their coaches and ex-semi-professional players, so they have a lot of talent, and that's another one of the teams that gets recruited as well. So we're looking forward to trying to knock off one of those teams, maybe an upset here or there, but we got to take care of Geneva first this weekend.
Can you talk a little bit about Geneva? What do you guys want to try to do this weekend to really go out there and score the big key W?
You know what? Last week I think we were just too worried about where we needed to be instead of just flowing with the game like we used to. We did score a couple times, but we gave up a couple key mistakes that translated into points for the other side, ultimately deciding the loss. So we want to eliminate those mistakes and try and come stronger and make the other team force those mistakes.
Now you got Carnegie Mellon in a few weeks. Always a big rivalry just right up the street there at Forbes. What do you guys want to do this year to really take hold of it and really make Pittsburgh your own?
CMU, if you ask any of our players, that's the game they have marked on their calendar. It's always beat CMU, especially we're walking distance away from their campus. A lot of our players know their players very well for good and bad reasons. But we're really looking forward to it. CAB is actually hosting a cookout in Village Park to start off the game, and then with the game starting later in that evening under the lights, we're going to have fan vans and everything to get everybody out there and hopefully bring home a W.
All right, thanks for stopping by
today, absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Best of luck this season. Jay Como and the rest of the rugby team look to really do some big damage this year in the Three Rivers Conference. Back to you at the desk, Kyle.
After the break, the NFL has been in hot water for its handling of issues off the field. Our cast this week will be taking their look at those issues. Don't go away.
What does freedom of speech mean to you? Take a second to think about it. Does that freedom mean you can say whatever you want, whenever you want? Or does that freedom of speech mean something deeper? There is no right or wrong answer to the question. My answer to what does freedom of speech means to me is simple. Freedom of speech is a privilege that I myself, along with many others, have thanks to the individuals who have fought and continue to fight for it today. We are able to express ourselves through writing, art, and even our body language.
If you're having trouble with your schoolwork this semester, there's a helpful place on campus that you should know about. On the 7th floor of Lawrence Hall is the Program for Academic Success, which provides services like tutoring and academic counseling. The program's Writing Center is specifically designed to help you with your writing assignments, and you can even get help for them online. Students are encouraged to stop in the office, give a call, or send an email.
Every human being has a purpose, has a dream to have their voices heard, no matter where they come from, no matter where they go. As an American, it is their right to have freedom of speech. I have a dream that one day this message will speak louder than words, that even the quietest voice will not go unnoticed. That is my dream. What is yours? For more information, visit www.freedomofspeechpsa.org.
The NFL has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, with players getting in legal trouble off the field. I'm now joined by Zach Aaron, Blaine King, and Kelsey Metzger to discuss the NFL and what they need to do. Start with you, Zach.
Starting with me. Well, I think what the NFL needs to do is do a complete overhaul. I think that the reworkings of the policies, the personal conduct policies, have been really good so far. Now, however, I think the implementation of them have been a little dicey. I mean, obviously with the Ray Rice case.
A little dicey, Zach. I mean, I think that the implementation overall, they need to get better at it. Like, you can't call, domestic abuse with your fiance and give them a 2-game suspension. Like, oh, don't do that anymore. Like, they need to completely rework their system, and they need to come to firm terms on what will be each time. It needs to be the same thing, and it needs to be fair for all players across the board.
Yeah, I agree, but this issue doesn't just start with Ray Rice. This issue goes all the way back to Spygate, when the Patriots were spying. Remember the penalty that they got? It was just a little fine. Don't you think maybe Bill Belichick should have been suspended for a season? I mean, Sean Payton was when Bountygate popped up for the Saints.
Well, I mean, I guess the cardinal issue here is we all know the NFL was wrong with their handling of Ray Rice. And I think we all understand that. But now the NFL has these big steps. They have players like Ray McDonald and Greg Hardy who were in trouble over the offseason for felony domestic violence issues. How do you think that Roger Goodell is going to handle these? Because in his wording of his own policy, he has phrased it the way that mitigating circumstances could determine if you get 6 games. In that second offense, if you end up getting a lifetime ban, which actually isn't worded as a lifetime ban because you can apply for reinstatement. What's you guys' feelings on that issue?
I really don't like it. I think that this is just Roger Goodell being inconsistent. I think this just goes back to the fact that he needs to go. I think his time is well past due to go. I think he's damaged this league in more ways than one, going well past this personal conduct policy and the ways he's handled these cases.
Yeah, I'm not a big Roger Goodell fan either, and I think that maybe a fresh face will help give the NFL the lift that they need. They do not look good in anybody's eyes right now, and I think he needs to go, or maybe a staff of them need to go.
Yeah, Roger Goodell's in some deep hot water right here. There's just no words. He has to rework what he's doing, or he just has to resign. It's not looking good for Roger.
But keep in mind, the Ravens are also going to be in hot water, too. I mean, who knows what's going to happen within their front office for the way they've been acting, because apparently what we're hearing, I mean, there's conflicting reports, but some people are saying the NFL didn't even ask for the video. Some people are saying the NFL definitely saw the video.
Well, I mean, this goes well beyond that. This goes to the drug issue, too, which a policy that he's been tough at points, then not tough at other points.
Yeah, I mean, going as recently as Wes Welker with this whole situation with his drug abuse, but he claims that nothing ever happened. I mean, it just needs to be consistent. There needs to be a good investigation standpoint.
You know what? I think that the overall look of it is, if you take a look at it and you saw that a couple years ago, Ben Roethlisberger got 4 games for not even being, they never actually got through with it. And Ray Rice, there was video proof, and he got 2 games. So obviously there's something wrong with the system. We can all agree with that.
My last words are Terrell Pryor. He got 5 games for something he did in college.
All right. Well, that's it. In another good week of Courthouse Debate. Join us next week for more of the same Pioneer time, same Pioneer channel, same Pioneer Sideline.